Hello, our names are Jessica Campbell and Rhiannon Wieck, and for our EDC 1200 multimedia presentation, we have chosen an article regarding Kate Middleton as basis for the development of a teaching episode that explicates the ideas of difference, dominance and diversity. Firstly, however, we will describe the article we have chosen and who is positioned as difference in the article's social context and how it relates not only to the English national identity, but the influence that English monarchy has over the Australian national identity.
In the years since the world watched Kate Middleton glide into Westminster Abbey and emerge, Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, the wife of Britain's future king, has wowed Hollywood, being named on best dressed lists, and charmed the recession-weary by sharing outfits with her mother. She smiles, rarely speaks, and looks princess perfect in a hat. She is, with legions of fans, saving the British monarchy. Kate has managed to surmount Britain's class system while reinforcing it. Her appealing image as an ordinary woman who happened to marry a handsome prince has inspired an illusory sense of pride that the couple have levelled social distinctions in a historically class-conscious society. Class tension arose again and again, particularly in reports about the couple's brief split in 2007. With many speculating that the middle-class Middletons simply weren't posh enough to be royal in-laws. Polls provide evidence of Kate's popularity working within the British monarchy, as it has risen from 29% in November 1999 up to 56% currently. Kate is a rarity today, an appealing face, frequently seen but hardly heard, which makes it easy for people to imprint ideas upon her.
Kate is portrayed throughout the article to be different in comparison to the royals, due to her suggested proletariat class position. However, this is a false assumption as she comes from a stable bourgeois family. The article positions Kate as being different as deficit, as she is portrayed as to be lacking an aristocratic background. The dominant view reflected in the article is that royalty is seen as the norm or self, and anything lower than royalty is considered to be other. In this case, Kate Middleton, even though she is the typical educated, hegemonic white woman coming from a wealthy family, but by Kate marrying into the royal family, she has brought a sense of diversity into the monarchy, which makes it seem more relatable towards the English and Australian people. Australia's national identity is influenced by the English royal family, as Kate is recognised as a role model for young Australian girls. She has been on the cover of many Australian magazines and listed in the best dressed list frequently for her conservative ladylike fashion sense.
Our teaching episode for grade 9s is based on Marxist theory on classes. Firstly, we will introduce the theory into the classroom and describe what each involves, being the proletariat, bourgeoisie and aristocracy, and the type of people based on assumptions which fit into each class.
Here is an example of what we would use in our teaching episode to separate the classes, but ultimately the students would assist in creating the final model. Firstly, the proletariat. They would sit in a secluded area within the school. They would appear to have low confidence, and they would also have to serve the aristocrats their lunch. Since they are lower working class, they are allowed limited playtime and have no contact with other classes, such as talking, playing or touching. And they are also dressed in a very slack uniform. Secondly, the bourgeoisie also would sit in a secluded area within the school, but it would be larger than the proletariat. And they can also only interact within their own class. They have limited confidence, but more so than the proletariat, and more playtime. Also, they can use limited slang and a casual dress code. Thirdly, the aristocracy would also sit in a secluded area within the class. They can only interact within themselves, they have a full amount of confidence, they are not allowed to use slang, and they have to be dressed respectably at all times.
Once the students have a clear understanding of the task and of Marxist theory, we will split the class into 3 groups, separating the class randomly, effectively dividing friendship groups and comfort zones. Each person in the group will assume the role of each class, and this will be enforced throughout one day of school. They will each be given a badge that represents their class so that they are clearly labelled. It's not about taking advantage, but more so about living up or down to the expectation each class has for itself. For example, how the aristocracy has to act refined and composed at all times.
After the students have experienced a day in these roles and have established an understanding of the expectations and limitations that each role already has assumed for itself by society, we will bring the class together and remove the labels and reflect upon how they felt being defined into these classes. When reflecting with the students, we will ask them questions such as, did you feel isolated? What kind of assumptions did people make of you, and did you think they were correct? Did they influence how you thought of yourself? And depending on the class that they belonged to, did that affect how you treated them? Did you treat your friends differently because you had to assume what kind of person they were because of their class? Did you feel disadvantaged or advantaged, and why? Did you want to change your class? Were you embarrassed to be in that class, or were you comfortable?
Our ending note for the class is a reflective statement. Is it unfair to assume what another person can achieve?
As an example of assessment and further reflective activities, at the end of the clip presented in this slide, we will ask the children to go home and write a paragraph about why they think it is unfair to have your limitations assumed for you based on your class.
Through this teaching episode, we hope to provide the students with a deeper understanding of the invisible divisions of class within society and how that impacts upon an individual's society and society's idea of what they can achieve. So this teaching episode will allow us to work as a transformative educator by clearly demonstrating the marginalisation of class distinction within the community. By indicating the effects of this, the students will have a wider understanding of how subconscious assumptions can impact others and therefore help to reduce discrimination within the community.
The before-mentioned teaching plan addresses the issues of dominance, diversity, and difference. Difference is evident throughout the episode by distinguishing the 3 separate classes and how each differs from each other. The dominant idea surrounding our issue is that individuals are not restricted to their class, and we hope to portray this to the students so they can understand they can step outside of expectations. Diversity is the result of the dismissal of assumed expectations. At the end of the episode, we would hope that the students understand by being presumptuous of a person's class and their own class, they are not only limiting themselves, but others in the community to the confines of social expectations.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.